Good morning, everyone. My name's Stephen Laurie from Dynamic Edge, and thank you for joining our webinar this morning. This is the first of a series of webinars that we're hoping to be bringing to you. And the title of our webinar is Get Modern with Microsoft 365. And I'll go into a bit more detail around that as we go through. I've got a couple of things lined up for you today. I've got a short presentation that I would like to go through for you, and then also a live demonstration of a system that we've created at Dynamic Edge here to show you how we can take the headache out of an HR onboarding process. There is a question and answer available in our live session today. My colleague Bryony Brennan, who many of you will have received emails from, is going to be monitoring the question and answer. If Bryony feels that it's relevant at that point to bring that question to me, she will unmute herself and ask the question. Alternatively, we might leave some of the questions to the end, but if we don't have time today, we will be sure to come back to your questions and give you answers via email. So I'll get started with my short presentation and then we'll go on to the demonstration. So Microsoft 365. Okay, so what is Microsoft 365? Let's just go through a brief introduction of what this is. It's an umbrella offering of software and services from Microsoft. Many of us have probably been using Office 365. We'll not go through too much detail about the renaming of Office 365 to Microsoft 365 and what that all includes and involves, but it's essential just to understand that Microsoft 365 is this umbrella offering from Microsoft. It gives us these software and services that we require within our businesses. It is available for business, enterprise and education. So when we talk about business, we're looking at licensing models such as Business Basic, Business Standard, Business Premium. When we go to enterprise, when we're looking at businesses with more employees, we're looking at E1, E3, E5 level licenses. And as I said there, it is also available in the education sector. Many of you who have maybe been homeschooling for quite a few months prior to the summer holidays might have been using educational packages for your children. So it's great to see that this goes across the whole breadth of business, personal and education. It involves enhanced security. It's so important in this day and age that we make sure that everything that we do we keep our data protected, we keep our employees protected, we keep our businesses protected. So there's the enhanced security features that Microsoft 365 includes. Unrivaled mobility. Over the last 4, 5, 6 months, we've relied heavily on mobility. We've needed to make sure that our employees can work from anywhere at any time. They have access to the data that they require, they have access to the collaboration tools that they require, and the applications they require in order to fulfill their job roles. So Microsoft 365 really brings some unrivaled mobility, making sure that, as I said there, we can work anywhere at any time. And of course, it works on a subscription model. We've been used to that with Office 365 for some years now. The subscription model is a per user per month model. It flexes with your business. If you've got 40 employees, you've got 40 licenses. If that drops to 38, we take it to 38. If it goes to 42, it's 42. It's an OPEX model, giving you the reassurance that you know what your fixed costs are going to be for your licensing model on a monthly basis. So let's have a look at some of the key benefits, and we'll start with the user benefits. So access to the latest business software. Microsoft are cutting edge, they're leading when it comes to business software applications for our devices. So this Microsoft 365 is giving employees access to the latest business software all of the time. Office mobile app, so work from anywhere. I touched on it in my previous slide there. So we need to be able to be mobile. We need to be able to access this data and do this work from wherever we are. Should that be at home, in an office, or the road warrior, someone who's on the road constantly, they need to be able to, it might be through a mobile device. It could just be the mobile phone. You're going into a quick meeting. You need to be able to access the data and the information that you require for that meeting. So that mobility is a huge benefit for people using Microsoft 365. And I've popped the reduction in paperwork in at the bottom there. To me, it's a huge benefit. If you're anything like me, your filing system, if it's paperwork, could be terrible. But certainly on our computer, your filing system is held and it's done a lot better as well. So the reduction in paperwork I see has been a huge benefit for everyone. Management benefits. So we think of business owners, and where do you see the benefits coming out of this? Cloud portal accessibility. When I talk about the cloud portal, this is your Office 365, your Microsoft 365 portal. This is where you administer it. This is where you take care of setting things up. It could be creating an email address. It could be setting up SharePoint permissions. It could be giving people permissions to various different applications. It can be done on any device, anywhere. So you don't necessarily need to be sitting in your office at your desk in order to manage these things. It could be something you need to do ad hoc on the bounce at a moment's notice, but you have cloud portal accessibility to provide you the benefits available to do that. Business insights. So business insights, as a business owner or a senior manager within a business, you might want to know, how are my employees interacting with data? Who's doing what when? Where is the data held? How is the data being used? So we'll look at business insights, and that's a huge benefit, again, that it can give you, you as a business. And a security center for peace of mind. So looking at some of those security benefits within Microsoft 365. Artificial intelligence to provide smart insights. Okay, so we've got bots running now in Microsoft 365 that can tell us the information that we require to know, to give us the peace of mind that we're secure, or to highlight shortfalls within our data and the way that our data is being used, to highlight these shortfalls to allow us to address that and to move through it. And we'll touch on it briefly on the next slide. And business data is secure and protected. So if as a business, if you're working towards your ISO 27001 or GDPR compliance, there are many things within Microsoft 365 that can help you along your way to achieving those accreditations. So having a quick look at this slide here. So we've got the bringing together of Office 365, advanced security and device management. Office 365, we all know it, we all love it, we've all been using it for a number of years. So there's the Office applications that Office 365 brings. You've got Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, many more, and hopefully we're going to touch on some more of those today for you. Online services, so Exchange, emails in the cloud. Email's been in the cloud for years and years. Anybody who's got a Gmail account or a Yahoo or a Hotmail account, you've had cloud emails since you started that account. In businesses, we want our email to be in the cloud to make sure that that's just taken care of. It's managed. We don't need to worry about it on our sites or on premise. OneDrive, we will look at OneDrive in a future webinar. Teams, oh goodness, I mean, look, we're using Teams today, we're using a live event on Teams today, but again, reflecting back on our previous 4 or 5 months, Teams has been a critical part of our organisations and making sure that we keep communicating and keep collaborating with our colleagues. And advanced services such as online archiving. We touched on GDPR earlier on there, so we need to make sure that we've got a proper, sustainable archiving policy put in place around document retention. Advanced security. So we talked about external threat protection. All right, so Office 365 advanced threat protection. What does that mean? We've now got the ability through Microsoft 365 to simulate phishing attacks within any organisation. So from a cybersecurity point of view, you want to know that employees are working and dealing with emails in a safe and secure manner, because ultimately it's protecting your data. So we can now simulate an attack into the business through Microsoft 365 to send out a fictitious email. It's very safe from your business point of view to see how employees interact with it. Do they click on links? Do they give away credentials? Do they download attachments? Because that will give us the information back to say, yes, I'm quite happy that my staff are on top of this. But alternatively, it might come back and say, we've got some training requirements, we've got some vulnerabilities within our workforce, and we need to make sure that we're patching that up by providing training or anything like that. Multi-factor authentication, you've probably got it on multiple platforms now, but Microsoft 365 pushes on multi-factor authentication to make sure there are various different levels in place before you access any of your data within the company. We can enforce Windows Defender, we can enforce BitLocker encryption through Microsoft 365 again, advancing that security feature that we've got. And this other one here we've got in the middle slide there, the internal data leak prevention. It's very clever. Again, AI, it's artificial intelligence. Let's just say, for example, an employee is leaving your organisation. So through that internal data leak prevention, you can actually get data back to say that employee is downloading information from your systems before they leave. They're taking data with them on their way, so you can protect your data at all stages on its journey throughout your systems. And then device management. I'm not going to go into too much detail about device management now because things like Microsoft Intune, we are going to go through that in a later webinar as well about how we can manage that. But in a nutshell, Microsoft Intune gives us the ability to manage devices and manage the applications and services on those devices completely remotely. It speeds up the deployment of devices, and it speeds up the deployment of services and applications as well. But as I say, we will go into that in more detail in a future webinar. So we're going to look at exploring some of the apps, and my next slide here will show you everything that is involved with Office 365. Bear in mind that Office 365 is this original part that's part of the Microsoft 365 family, but just look at the amount of applications that are available within Office 365. Many of you there today might actually know that we know all these applications. That's great, fantastic. I'm glad that you do. But some of you might be out there thinking, goodness, I had no idea that there are that many applications. If I just look at this as an example, Office, okay, this is the part that we talked about. Office on the right hand side of the screen there, that includes Word, PowerPoint, Outlook, OneNote, all of those types of, sorry, it's not OneNote because it's below it, but all of those applications that we've been used to using through many years. But just have a look at everything else that's around it. Up at the top there, we've got Teams, okay? Again, Teams is something that we've all got used to using now and has been critical to our businesses. So through our series of webinars that we're going to be doing, we're going to be exploring more of these applications. If there are any applications that you really would like to know, please do get in touch with us and let us know, and we can certainly make sure that we factor those in at one of our next webinars for you. But there are 3 applications that I want to focus on specifically today, and that is PowerApps, Power BI, and SharePoint. And ultimately, I'm wanting to focus on those 3 applications because bringing those applications together can provide efficiency within our businesses. It can drive automation and it can empower employees through the processes that we put in place. I am also going to touch on Microsoft Flow, but I'm only going to touch on that today because we will go into Microsoft Flow in a lot more detail in the future. But I do need to touch on Flow because Flow is part of my demonstration that I will be doing later on. So let's start with SharePoint. Okay, so what is SharePoint? You see it right in the middle there. Okay, in its simplest terms, okay, in the simplest form of SharePoint, people might look at it and talk about it as a document management solution. Okay, so let's think about it in that simplest term. Document management solution. It's a place where we can hold data and we can work with our data. So if we think about a dynamic edge ourselves here, SharePoint is our main document storage location. Okay, this is where we keep all of our company documentation, and we access SharePoint through various different mediums. Could be Teams, could be OneDrive, could be anything like that, but the data is all stored in OneDrive. So it's a document collaboration with the Office apps. So you've got access from your Office apps into your document collaboration zone. You can share the content in Teams and Outlook, as I said before. So another key benefit of SharePoint, just think about, again, in your own organization, if you're sharing attachments with your colleagues, are you sending them through email? Okay, are you attaching that Excel spreadsheet or that Word document that's so many meg big and you're emailing it around various different people within your organization? So through being able to share content from SharePoint, all we do is we just put a hyperlink in to that document. So the document stays in the one place all the time, and various people can access and work on that document from that hyperlink. Anywhere access to files, utilizing OneDrive or utilizing SharePoint Direct as well. So, you know, we talked about the flexibility, we talked about mobility. You know, if your documents are stored on a physical server in your office, you're really limited to how people access and interact with that documentation. If we move it to the cloud, if we move it to SharePoint, we're then giving people the flexibility to be able to access into that data. There's employee engagement benefits to that too, and also digital experiences with SharePoint portals and spaces, and we'll go into that in a bit more detail. But really importantly, SharePoint is adding in that security, the multi-factor authentication, the advanced threat protection, all of the things that I talked about through Microsoft 365 to make sure that your data is secure in it. We're using artificial intelligence, okay, so we've got AI that's involved there in order to interrogate that data and give us the statistics and analysis out of our data that we require to, again, to make our business more efficient. And extensibility, so it is extendable. You know, it's a starting point. You can use SharePoint for a wide variety of things. So let's have a quick look through a few of the benefits and a few of the things within SharePoint. So content services, shared files, pages, data and apps across the 365 platform. Anywhere access to files, simple and secure sharing. Talked about how easy it is to share access to documents from SharePoint. Intelligent intranet and search, connect people, news, knowledge and apps. The search function in SharePoint is excellent. So if we think, again, going back to if we've got a server in our office and we're looking for a document, quite difficult to search through all of the documents that are in there. You know that there's something that you talked about in a document that you're trying to reference. You don't know what the document title was. With SharePoint, with this index search that it has, you can put any search term into the search box there and it will search the content of all your documents to bring you back the documents that are relevant to that search term. So you can really easily get access to the documents that you need. News and knowledge. Okay, so again at Dynamic Edge, when we use our own SharePoint, we share all of our company news in there. We share document sharing, knowledge sharing on our SharePoint site as well, so that all of our employees have quick and easy access to the information they require. And a modern framework. So apps, workflows and custom development. So it is a modern framework. We can, as I talked about the extensibility of it there, so we can extend it, we can make it work for your business and have the content and information in there that you require in order to again, I'm going to use the word again, drive efficiencies within your organization. Power BI, so the second of our 3 applications that we're focusing on today. So Power BI, what is it? Business intelligence. Okay, so this is analytics. This is us actually trying to understand the data we have within our business and get some information out of it. Understand how we're working with that data. So across on the left-hand side there, you can see we've got cloud data or our on-premises data. Okay, so if you've got a data set held anywhere, we can work through Power BI and we can work with that data. In the middle there of the cloud, out of the box, SaaS content packs. SaaS stands for software as a service. Okay, it's a software that sits over there and we just use it. Okay, we don't have to have the software, it can sit in the cloud and we can use it there. Real-time dashboards and interactive reports. Okay, so again, we're reporting and we're interacting with our data. Natural language query. Okay, that's quite a good one. The natural language query means you don't need to be a software developer in order to understand the queries that we put into software into Power BI. I work with some fantastic software developers, but honestly, sometimes I just do not understand a word that they're saying. Okay, but within Power BI, it's simplifying it for us business people going about their daily business to be able to execute queries within Power BI. Custom visualizations. Okay, so you can change the way it looks, you can change the way it adapts for you specific to your business. And it is a native Office 365 integration. So that means that it is looking into all aspects of your Office 365 platform in order to interrogate the data. And then the output, moving towards the right hand side of the slide there. Okay, so we can output to the web, we can produce graphics or produce information on the web, we can take it to mobile, we can put it out to Excel, we can embed it into our SharePoint site if we want. Cortana there through Windows 10, so Cortana, you can actually ask Cortana what the latest stats are and Cortana will tell you what the latest stats are based on the Power BI report that has been created. And then the infinity symbol at the bottom there really just starts to tell us that, you know, we can take this anywhere. Power BI, the ability to interrogate and understand your data within your organization is very, very powerful. And I suppose that the world's your oyster wherever you can take that. So a few more points on that. So get data, easily connect, clean and collate your data. Okay, and the word that's there is the easily part of it. Okay, your data is in there. Now we have the ability to drive in and use that data. Analyze, build powerful modules and flexible measures in order to, as I said before, to share information out with your colleagues. Visualize, create stunning interactive reports. You can see from a little graphic on the right hand side there, it's just a screenshot that I've taken. So these are Power BI reports. So we've got data sitting at one side. We've got Power BI in the middle, which you're seeing on the screens that's just there just now, which is all of these reports. And then we've got the ability to output that or embed that somewhere else. And it could just be a case of sharing it within the senior management team of your business to show them how are we performing as a sales department? How are we performing as an HR department? How are we performing across the whole organization? Lots of metrics that can be used. And you can publish, as I've just talked on there, you can share insights with others. And then the ability to collaborate as well. This is a key thing that we're going through and many of the things that we've touched on today. So we can empower our organisation to drive efficiencies right the way through by collaborating on this information. Once we pull the information out, we can now start to work on it and we can start to understand how we move forward. PowerApps, okay, and this is going to be the center of what we're looking at when it comes to our demonstration. Okay, so PowerApps sitting in the middle there. Again, I've referenced software as a service at the top there. So again, this is the input and then we've got the output at the other side. Enterprise services or business systems. So we're talking about connect across your data from the cloud to on-premise. So again, if we have data within our organization, we can use PowerApps in order to manipulate that data to help us understand that data and produce something at the other side. So we can create business apps with easy visual tools and powerful cloud services. Okay, we have many apps that we've all got on our phones now. I mean, I just recently downloaded the new Scottish Government track and trace app that's been developed through the Scottish Government. We've got games. You know, we've got social media apps, we've got all this type of stuff, but now we can develop an app specific to your business. Now, it's not like an app, like a game or anything like that. It's an app that, as I said, is through your 365 portal and it's specific to your business. And you can share them securely with your team across multiple devices, mobile, tablet, desktop. And hopefully my demonstration that I'll show you later on will show you how I've developed an app in order to streamline a process within our organization. So PowerApps Cloud, publish apps to people in your business so they can access anywhere. Again, it's about that mobility key. It's about, for example, me, if I'm going out to visit a client and I really need to understand some data or I need to quickly get something put in place, I can open up an app on my phone, I can put in the information that I want, and then everything else will take over. The integration, the automation will take over there so that my colleagues will be notified of what they need to do and when they need to do it. Connections, so you can build apps that interact with your data sources and respect their permissions. So we've talked about SharePoint earlier on. SharePoint is very permissions driven, so we make sure that people within your organization will only access things in SharePoint that are relevant to their job role. PowerApps will respect those permissions, and if there is anything in it that's sensitive that shouldn't be displayed to a specific employee for whatever reason, it won't do it. Web and mobile, so find and use apps instantly on the web and mobile, iOS and Android, works across all platforms. And the good thing about this is that you don't have to be a developer in order to develop an app for iOS, an app for Android, an app for this, an app for that. It is one single app that will work across all applications, all operating systems. Create custom design interface with full visual experience. So when I went back to the point I made in BI about it being in simplistic terms, you don't need to know coding or anything like that to be able to do it. It's a custom design interface with visual experience. Okay, so it's drag and dropping charts and bar graphs and things like that into it so that you can work through that. And expand. Advanced development. Okay, so we talked earlier on there about the fact that it is quite simple in order for you to be able to start to develop an app yourself. However, you can expand it. So if you've got a software developer, we've got software developers in-house at Dynamic Edge, we can really take your Power App to the next level and to really integrate with more data sets and to provide more outputs for you and for your business. Bryony, just before I jump onto the HR onboarding run through, is there anything that anything that's popped up there that you think I might want to touch on just now?
So we've got a few questions.
Thanks.
So one is, how does the administrative permissions work with SharePoint to ensure that there is no proliferations of files, folders, and duplications?
So just repeat that, sorry, Bryony.
Right. How does the oh, you've got me tongue-tied now. How does the administrative permissions work within SharePoint to ensure there are no proliferations of files, folders, and duplications?
Okay, so I mean, permissions within SharePoint, duplications is difficult. So duplications, it's very difficult to manage duplications. You are going to get that, okay? But ultimately, if we think about duplications of a specific file, all right, when I go back to what I'd mentioned about traditional way of doing things, emailing things around, people saving copies of that Excel spreadsheet to the local desktop, sending it on, so you've got copy off, such and such, or copy off, copy off, copy off in some instances. So you've got a huge amount of duplication that's happening there. Within SharePoint, there's no specific permissions as such. We can go into a bit more detail on that in the future, in actual fact, to show how we can do that. But it's really about the behavioural side of things with SharePoint. So ensuring that that single document stays where it is at all times, and we share access to that document to the people, and they will all access into it. One of the key benefits within SharePoint is that multiple people can access a document at one time. So rather than something being locked for editing, when you open up in SharePoint, you access it there. And for example, if Bryony was also to jump onto that same document, I would just see a little box at the top to say Bryony is also editing this document, and I would see live the edits that she's making to that document. So it's a behavioural shift within the organisation to ensure that we're not taking the document out of SharePoint and emailing each other. We're actually just accessing the document there. But around about the permissions, and more so the security permissions, we create security groups within SharePoint to ensure that, so for example, just in simplistic terms, the business owner has access to everything. The sales manager has access to all of the sales information. The technical manager has access to all the technical information. And then the sales manager that's got access to all that sales information can then set up the security group below that person, which is for the sales team, and the sales team will only have access to specific folders within there as well. So when the person accesses, or someone in the sales team accesses SharePoint, they will only see the folders and files that are relevant to them. They won't be able to, they won't even see the other stuff that's available there. Okay, so it's not a case of asking for access to it, it just won't be available to them. But I will drive more into SharePoint and look at some of the permissions, and I know that when you were talking there about around about the question to make sure that there's no copies of it, you can lock documents. You can actually also be notified if documents are changed or moved, so that we can actually get a good insight into where that is. Hopefully that's answered some of your question there.
And then the next one is, can we use BI to report from Horizon?
Can we use BI to report from Horizon? Ultimately, yes. Ultimately, yes, because it's a data set. Okay, so as I said, when I talked about Power BI, and we talk about, you know, if you've got a data set, you're able to interrogate that data and produce reporting. So with Horizon, if you're using Horizon, so for those of you who are not aware, Horizon is a cloud-based telephony solution. With Horizon, at this point here, I would need to look into it further, but I don't necessarily think it will talk directly to Horizon. However, within Horizon, when you do any of the advanced statistics within it, if you're interrogating users, you can pull the data out in an Excel or a CSV format. If you've got the Excel or the CSV format, you will be able to use that within Power BI, yes.
Lovely. And then is Power BI licensed separately from an enterprise license, or is it included?
Yeah, so very good question. So in certain licensing models, it is included. So there's different levels within Power BI as well. So Power BI is actually free. Okay, so to access Power BI to begin with, it's absolutely free. But then you've got Pro and you've got Enterprise style licenses. So I don't know what specific enterprise model that you're on, but absolutely you have got access to Power BI at a certain level, but there may be an additional subscription required to get some of the functionality that you might need. But I can't answer that specifically just now, but what I would do is suggest that you do give us a call or speak to us specifically about your level, and we can certainly know let you know what level you have. You might have full access, or you might need to add an additional subscription.
And then lastly, at the moment, can we use BI to report and use to clean data from our housing management system?
So again, yes. So if once again, just going back to this point, if we've got a data set, we can use Power BI. Ultimately, that's the point. Now, whether or not we have a direct integration into the housing management system would depend on an API on the housing management system. We can certainly talk to the third-party vendor of that system and work with them in order to be able to do that. But if there's a data set there, we can use Power BI. That's the key point that I want to get across. So whether or not we interact directly with that system, or whether or not we interact with an output from that system. So it might be that you have to bring an output from that system in order to be able to do it one way or the other. Yes, we can do that.
Lovely, that's it for the moment.
Good, grand. Thank you for that.
All right.
Okay, so HR onboarding. So I did say, and I did claim that we're going to solve the headache of HR onboarding. Okay, I think it was a big claim, but what we've done at Dynamic Edge is we've created a demo environment for you, so that we can demonstrate how utilising these applications here we can create and perhaps. I think the word I want to keep using here is automate and drive efficiency with processes within our businesses, empowering employees to be able to do these things quickly and effectively. So the apps that we've looked at today, SharePoint, PowerApps, Power BI, we've discussed them in a bit of detail, but I now want to show you how I could bring those three applications together in order to create an app, first and foremost, to drive an efficiency within the process of HR onboarding within our organisation. I've also popped Flow down at the bottom there because we do use a bit of Flow in here, but I am going to do a different session on Flow altogether because it's huge and it's got so much that it could do for our businesses. So without further ado, I shall pop across to a web browser and I'm going to take you through a quick presentation or a quick demonstration. Apologies because I might jump about a little bit here, but please do stick with me and bear with me through this. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is visit portal.office.com. So portal.office.com is our access to everything that we have 365. Okay, so it's got recent documents that I've been involved in. Any folders that it thinks that I need quick access to, various different things, Power BI reports going on there. You can actually see my PowerPoint presentation that I'm delivering just now. So that's just showing me there as a recommended thing because it's something that I've worked on recently. But what I'd like to do is if I click on the dots up in the top left hand corner, and we can see the apps going down here. If I clicked at all apps, you will see, remember back to my circle that I had with all of those different colors in there. So we'll see a long list of apps up and down the left hand side there of the things that are available to me through 365. But as I said, I want to focus on three in particular. We've got PowerApps, we've got Power BI, we've got SharePoint, which is there, and also it's now called Power Automate, but that would Microsoft Flow as it was known. So the first thing I'm going to do is start with SharePoint, if I may. And when I've opened up SharePoint here, now this is Dynamic Edge, this is me live, okay, in my system here. You can see the amount of SharePoint sites that I have access to because we heavily use SharePoint within our organisation for collaboration and document management. You can see that I've got our company intranet there, so I talked about earlier on about communication, getting news out, getting knowledge bases out to your teams and staff, and the company intranet is where you would hold the majority of your data. But for the purpose of this, I'm going to click on the HR onboarding demo, because this is a team site, this is a group that has been created within SharePoint for the purposes of this demonstration. So this is an HR onboarding demo SharePoint site. Within this SharePoint site, we can add documents. Anything that we want to add into here can be held within this SharePoint site. We could add a knowledge base, we could add a discussion board, we could add anything like that that we want in there and treat this like a little intranet page that's used to work with the HR onboarding process within our businesses. But if we go to site contents here and we go to a list, okay, so we created a list in SharePoint. Remember what I said, I've been talking a lot about data sets earlier on. SharePoint is where the data set is for our organisation here for when it comes to onboarding. This is where we keep the data, and every other application we use references around the data set which is held within SharePoint. So we've got our HR onboarding list there. So this is people that we are currently onboarding to our business. They're fictitious, okay? I've just been making them up as I've been going along for demonstration purposes. And I'm also being put down as the line manager for all of these people as well. That's because for the demonstration, it's easier for me to show you how it works with me being the line manager in there. So we can see there, just very, very quick at a glance view, we've got the process or the stages that have been completed for the onboarding of various different people. But even now, when we look at this, so if we take a step back from this and we think about how we might be onboarding staff right now within our businesses, it's probably a very manual process, okay? And there's probably a lot of paperwork involved. And let's face it, it's probably down to one person or one or two people within the business to do the onboarding of new employees. It can be quite stressful. You need various people to do their bit in order to make sure that when, and we've talked about this before as well internally, when someone starts with our business, on day one of their employment, we want them to be super impressed by us as an organisation. And the only way we can do that is by having everything in place. If someone turns up the day one of their new job and they don't have a laptop to work with, they don't have access to the files and systems that they require, and it's not a great look, it's not a great feel. Okay, so we need to make sure that we're putting all these things in place. But that can be quite a stressful situation for one or a small group of people within a business. So even at this point here, although we've got this list, it's still looking a bit like a manual process. It's still a bit like it's only one person or one or two people that are going in here to make sure, right, have I done that? Have I done that? Have I done that? Have I done the next thing? So on and so forth. What have we done? So what we want to do is we want to create an app, okay? And we want to create an app to manage the process for onboarding people. So if I go back to my dots there, and this time I'm going to open up PowerApps. Okay, so PowerApps is now opened within there, and I can now access any apps that I have currently developed. So I'm going to go to apps there, and here's the HR onboarding tablet. I will show you just in a little second about how how I created that and what I went through to do it. But what I want to actually do is show you how it works. So we created this app. I'm going to play the app for you now, and here it is. So this is a tablet-based app, okay, so you can have this on a tablet. It'll fit for the mobile, it'll sit on the desktop, it'll sit anywhere, but this one that I've developed here is for the tablet, okay. So it's the HR onboarding app, and here is the status. As we saw in the previous screen, and there you can just see it as being as complete or in progress. But in my app here, it's just showing me ticks, okay. So we can see Ben Smith at the top there. Ben Smith has been fully onboarded to the company. Elizabeth Barker has had 2 items complete. Debbie's had 2, Jack's actually had nothing, nothing's been done for Jack yet, and Mark Williams has had 3 parts of that completed. But what we want to do is, so that's given us a very quick overview of how that's happened, okay? But what we would like to do is go down this process of how do we onboard somebody to the business, right? So the hiring manager has been out, they've done their interviews, they've shortlisted it down, they've decided, right, okay, I want to hire Ewan Davidson. Okay, let's just pick up a name. Ewan Davidson is going to be starting with the business. I've got him, I'm happy with it, I've had the authorization to get him started. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go into the app and start the process for him being onboarded. Okay, I don't have to go to one person and throw it all on them. I'm going to give the tasks to multiple people to get this person onboarded. So I'd click on onboard up at the top there, and I would type in the surname. And we'll go his first name, and we'll select who's his direct report going to, who's his direct line manager going to be. Again, I'm just going to pick myself because I'm super popular as a manager within the business, and I'm going to click that I'm the manager. Now you might put your own name there, or it might be that you're onboarding for someone else, okay, another department, so you just put the manager's name there. That's referencing your Office 365, so it's got all of your employees, all of your colleagues will be in there, so you can select any name within your business. You'll select a start date for the person, so let's put it on Monday the 28th of September. That's when he's agreed to start. And we'll pop in his personal email address. Again, I'm just going to put my own email address in there for demonstration purposes. So I've filled in that information. Now, please just see outside of this slightly. Okay, this can be adapted. All right, this is, as I said, this is just for demonstration purposes. We've only put a certain amount of boxes in here. You might want to gather more information at this point. It's up to you. And we'll just quickly click onboard. So the employee onboarding has started. So what you'll see now as well is that Ewan Davidson has now been added to our list, and we can see that nothing has been completed across there. Now, as I say, we're an IT company, so I've just created this very, very broadly around about technical things that has to happen for the onboarding of this employee. But the tasks that might need to be completed could be, do you have a signed contract from or create the contract and send it? Have you received the signed contract? Do you have a P45 or a P46 on file? Have they signed the disclaimer for using company vehicles? Do we have a copy of their driver's license? Do we have their bank details? Things like that. That's these tasks that could go across the top there, so that you've got every tick in the box. It means you're ready for that person to start. But what's now happened since I pressed that onboard button and completed those details? What has now happened is that a flow has kicked in, a Power Automate has kicked in. I will touch on it briefly in a second. And it is doing various different things in the background to make sure that the relevant people from the relevant departments are now doing their bit for the onboarding of that person. And what I might do is hopefully it will have come in now. So if I pop back across to my email, as I say, because I am so there we can see it here. So we'll open this up. Okay, so dear IT department, please create a new email address for our new employee, Ewan Davidson. When Ewan Davidson's email is ready, please click on the button below to confirm. If you have any questions, please contact the HR department. Okay, so nice and simple. So as an IT department now, this has been sent to that department. It's not all being sent to me, it's been sent to the various different departments. I've only put my email address into all the sections for demonstration purposes. So if I'm in the IT department, that's great, I've got that action to do. I'll jump off now, I'll put in all the information I require, I'll set up his email address, and once I've done that, I'll just hit confirmation. If I hit confirmation, I'll see this screen. Thank you, your response has been confirmed. Quite interestingly, if you hit confirmation again, so if you think, oh, maybe I forgot to do something, if you hit confirmation again, it'll actually come back and say you have already responded to this, which is quite useful. But now if we go back to our app and I give that a quick refresh, you'll see there that Ewan Davidson, email assigned, there is a tick in the box for that, which is ideal. So again, we're seeing that our colleagues are doing their parts. So as an HR manager, if I want to make sure that we're on track to have someone onboarded, you will be able to quickly look on this, see anything that's missing, and it's a quick chase to the person that needs to do that thing before that start date that comes around. But one of the other things that we've got that's working in there, and I'll pop into Power BI now for a second, is Power BI. Because we've got the data set. Okay, the data set has been held in SharePoint. The app is where we're managing it and where we're looking at it. And that information is then being fed back to SharePoint and keeping SharePoint updated. So because we've got that data set in SharePoint now, we can analyze it, we can get information, we can actually produce some reports based on it. So if we go into Power BI, I've got a workspace created here, HR onboarding demo. And that's it there. Okay, so if I click on that, you can now see, once this opens up, loading the data, that I've got a number of reports that are set up around about the HR onboarding, the metrics that are now included with the HR onboarding process and how we're getting on with that. What I'm going to do just now is just do a quick refresh so that it refreshes in my app. It is these are set to refresh at certain points during the day. Okay, so I've just pushed a refresh through on it so that it keeps everything up to date for me. But as you can see through the reports, if I open the reports, there we are there now, we can actually start to go into these reports and change them, make them different, make them more colourful, add different types of reports in here. This is the platform that we use, and as I said, you can see it's a very visual thing that we've got going on here. So you can create these reports and have them in there in Power BI. But then what we've done is we've told our app to reference Power BI. So if we click on reports now in the app, we should see the status of all the employees that we're currently onboarding, what percentage they are through, and we can actually then, if we click on Elizabeth, for example, it will just show us Elizabeth's. Clicking through them, you can see that. Now, a very, very, very basic suite of reports that I've put in there. There is much more that could be put in there. You could do by department, which departments are onboarding people the quickest, which departments are getting back to them the quickest. There's so much that could be done there. But for the purpose of this demonstration, I've just done a very, very quick suite of reports in there. Those reports are showing in the app, but those reports could be emailed out to various different people, HR departments on a daily basis so they can keep a track on what's happening. So that's our app for managing HR onboarding. There's one other thing that was included in it, and I did say that I would touch on it briefly, and that's the Power Automation side of stuff, or Microsoft Flow. We'll just let that open up quickly. And if I go to My Flows, and I'll just show you how Microsoft Flow, a very basic look into how Microsoft Flow works. So Microsoft Flow is an automation, it's automating tasks. Okay, so we've got this app that we've created and we've put a new employee into the app. Okay, we've put a new person that's starting with us on the 28th of the month into the app. So we say here, when a new employee form is created, okay, because it is referencing through SharePoint, so PowerApps putting it in SharePoint. Once it's put into SharePoint, the flow picks that up. And then you can see the flow diagram that's happening here. It's quite simple to follow. When that is created, send account confirmation email to the IT department. Send confirmation email to IT department, IT equipment department. Send setup mailbox confirmation email to IT department. Okay, I've kept this very, very IT. But this could be, as I said to you before, send an email to the new start asking for their P45. Automated, happens straight away as soon as you've put that thing in there. Send an email to our third-party payroll provider to let them know that we now have a new start within our organisation and that they need to be added to that system. Again, it's an automated task. It's happening in the background. So there's all these different tasks that's going on there. Once these have been completed, it says update SharePoint and tell SharePoint that that's been done now. And then PowerApps, because it's using SharePoint as its data set, is seeing that that's been changed and it's displaying it in the app. So there's a quick visual reference. And then because that data is changing, the Power BI is picking it up as well. Hopefully you see where I'm going here. Everything coming back to being a simple visual display for you, all the way through the process until you have got that new person completed, and that process is now terminated because you've got that completed. Didn't mean to do that just yet because I wanted to show you this one. Set up training video confirmation email to corporate training department. Update the video training status to complete. Send the video to the new employee. Okay, so this could be a step that you've got included in there. You might have a private YouTube video that you want to send to employees to say, welcome to our organisation. We're really looking forward to you getting started. We're working on getting things in place. Before you start, it might be worthwhile having a quick look at this material, that material, the next material, whatever it is that you want to go through, and they will receive that. And there's just a quick example of an email that's my personal email address because I've been set up in here. And it says, this was the one I did for Ben. Dear Ben, here are some videos to help you get familiar with the company and our policies. Here's the video, watch it. Any questions, give us a call. Again, it's slick, all right? It's something that's happening in the background. You don't need to worry yourself about it. You just go through that, add on board, put in the details. Everything else happens behind the scenes to make sure that your new start is ready to start with your organisation on their start date. And that there is me. So, Bryony, is there any other questions that have popped up there? Just conscious on time now. We're getting towards 10 to 12. You're on mute there, Bryony.
Thank you very much. I just started
No
There is just one more. How long does it take to set up workflows in a Power App, and what extent of training is required?
Okay, very good question. Very good question. I like to see myself as a bit of a layman. Okay, you know, when it comes to certain things like this, I do work with a technology company. I've got a big technology background, but you know, shall I say, you know, since working the role that I'm in, I'm not hands-on as much with these side of things as I used to be. I managed to muscle my way through it. Okay, that's the one thing I'm going to say about this. You could, because of that visual representation and because of the understanding that's there, that I've got, the previous understanding that I've got, I managed to get my way through Power BI and PowerApps. That said, you know, trying to say this diplomatically as well, it is accessible to all, and you would be able to work out, eventually working through it. We've got a team of experts. Many of you are on the call will be managed service clients of ours already. We'd be delighted to have a discussion with you about it and to try to help you and assist you with creating these types of things. If it is that you don't have the time to be able to do it, you know, we've got developers in-house that would be able to do these very quickly for you and get them turned around. So we can certainly talk about projects for your business and how we can do those types of things for you. But ultimately, going back to the first point, it's not super difficult. You do need a bit of understanding and a bit of reasoning behind. I've talked quite a lot today about data sets, about the flow of data and how data moves between various different bits, and some basic search commands. But once we get through that part of it, and once you've developed your first app or first few apps, you know what, you'll be able to do a lot more within your business. But we are here to help, and please do engage with us on any discussions you've got, of ideas that you've got. We can certainly help guide you, or if you would like us to do it for you, we'd be more than happy to do that.
Lovely, thank you very much. I think just the last thing to say, if anyone does want a recording of this webinar, I'm more than happy to send it to them. But no, thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, thank you, and then thanks, Bryony, for being in the background there and managing that for me. It's been a great webinar for me. It's been great for us to deliver this for you. We watch out for further ones coming. We will pick on some topics of other 365 products that could really, and I'm going to just repeat these ones again, drive efficiency, automate, and empower within your businesses. So look forward to them coming, and thanks everyone for your time today. Thank you.